Thank you. Thank you.
Hey there, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on Conversations with Coaches. For those of you who don't know me, I am Jennifer Tamborski. I'm the CEO and Chief Strategist of Virtual Marketing Experts. We're a digital marketing company that specializes in working with business owners who have a desire to make an impact on the world through their courses, coaching, and consulting services. We help them to accelerate their business and scale their impact. Here's the thing, I truly believe that coaches have the ability to change the world, and I wanted to have a part in it. So I created this show to really help get their message out. Today, I'm so excited to have Jenna join us. Jenna, tell us about who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer, for having me. I'm really honored to be here and to have this conversation and to support coaches for sure. I call myself a transformational mentor and growth strategist with my company, Brave Masters. And that's what I do. I help people get their brave on, and I work with high achieving women that they have a lot on their plate. They have a lot to do. They may even experience perfectionism and control freakness, some of those things, right? But the bottom line is I help people outsmart their egos. That egoic mind that actually spends a lot of time running our lives and our businesses, and bring them back to their higher self, and ultimately, eradicate, that hijack that the ego does, that slows us down and keeps us away from what we really want and keeping us playing small. So I have a lot of tools, and I've created methods and resources and what I call the ego tricks and the egoic archetypes and such, to help people recognize their own patterns and break them. So that's what I'm here to do.
Awesome. So what is a brave master? Like, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, what is a brave master? So it's absolutely evolved over time, for sure, because so number one, I've been an entrepreneur. I came from corporate world. I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years now, and I've gone through different iterations of my business. And from my husband and I ran a web and graphic design company, and then it moved into brand strategy. So I was very good at helping people identify who they were as a brand, and then business strategy, of course, on the back end of that. And I rebranded my company because I believe entrepreneurship is the brave way. It's not an easy route. And so Brave Masters came to life in 2017 as the conversation, and as the people I was serving. I was calling my clients Brave Masters. And I was like, why am I calling them that, right? And I feel like that's who I am. I've overcome so much. And I keep playing the game. I stay on the field, but it's not always the easiest choice. And so I believe that that's who we are, especially coaches and people that are trying to make an impact and a difference and help people in a particular way. And then over the years, it started to take on a whole new meaning, not only on the external influence that we have, the brave that we bring to the world, and the changes and choices we make in our own life, but it's also about facing ourselves. It's about owning what we really want, who we really are, fully expressing that, and getting out of our own way so that we can live aligned with our purpose and our calling, and that bigger picture that we envision. So it's moved from something a little more external, like very action focused, and I still do that, right? You take brave action. However, but I think one of the bravest actions is to own our stuff, right? And to look at ourselves and take personal ownership of where we are, where we've been, and where we're going. So yeah, that's brave for me.
I love that, because I think you're right in that being an entrepreneur in and of itself is a brave port going forward. And yeah. I know right now, for those of you that are watching in the future, we're in the fall of 2020. And so there are going to be a lot of people entering into entrepreneurship because they don't have another choice, right? Their job, whatever that may have been, has kind of disappeared. So that reluctant entrepreneur taking that brave path is so just rings true for me. So what is it that you think seems to get in the way of people's ability to really get the results they're looking for?
So as I mentioned, I think, ego, I think, gets in the way a lot of the time, right? Our own mind, our own chatter, it's the living in the head versus living in the heart that really seems to hijack the momentum that we're looking for. And something else I also say is that living consciously is not the easy way. That is the brave way. And so when we're asleep to what is the pattern that I'm, continuously repeating? What am I doing in this space that's keeping me from having what I want and where I want to go? So the results are always out there, right? We're making the goals, we're doing the to-do list. We've got, we know how to make the SMART goals. We know how to plan and create the outcomes that we want. And yet we think it's about the doing. We think it's about, I just need to go take more action. At times I'm offering, like, that's the offer. and if that's not for you, then, tell me what is. And so when we look to the action, and then the next step is, do we take it? And so then we experience procrastination, or our mind gets in our way and immediately starts to come up with all the reasons why it's not possible now. I can't do this, I can't do that. So what I assessed and observed in myself and working with hundreds of people is what I call the 14 ego tricks. And I'm not gonna, I'll give you a resource where you can get them all. But
right. Give us
go through all
top
of them.
2 or 3, 4 or 5.
Yeah, something like that. Because it'll drive home my point. So
right.
one of them is requirement. I call it the requirement. And what that means, and that's where the control freak comes in. And I'm a recovering one, so I get it. And so requirement is when you hear yourself saying, I need to do this. I have to do this. It's like, or you feel trapped into only one way, right? And then the other thing is it's the requirement that you put around the things that you're doing or the ideas that you have, and it keeps us in limitation, basically, and it keeps us in it puts a box around all possibility. Right. So if I have to do it this way, and if I have to have it, exactly perfect before I take action, or I have to make sure my course is completely completed, totally done before I pre-sell it, those are the have tos. Those are the limitations that we put in place because we're probably afraid of something or worried about something on the back end. And underneath every ego trick is an attachment. And that's the source of the ego trick. The ego trick is just a signal. It's just the pattern. It's the behavior. So that's one that I see a lot of. The other one I hear is I can't. I can't is another one. I mean, just how many times do we say that to ourselves? I can't do it because, and it's very justified. Like COVID, blah, blah, blah. I can't do this.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah. So we hack that by saying, of course, how can I, or what can I do, regardless. And so we start to rewire our brain to think of possibility versus the limitation of it. And, every time we say I can't, I mean, just feel it, right? It feels trapped. It feels heavy. It feels, undesired, right? So that's a big one I see as well. And then the other one, especially in entrepreneurial world, coach world, we're all coaches, mentors, we're all, helping people, is comparison. And so
that's a huge one.
Huge, right? Marketing.
I think that's a huge one in life in general.
100%. And it comes from the fact that our egoic self, our false self, requires certainty. It's looking for, how do I mitigate risk? How do I keep you comfortable? How do I keep you safe? How do I make sure everything's going to be okay? And in order to do that, it has to use these patterns of behavior in order to mitigate that risk. And comparison is huge. So when we see ourselves measuring in any form, or the imposter syndrome, right? That's a measurement. And we compare ourselves to the coach next to us, or the business owner that seems to have made it. and I'm
Mhm.
not there. And so who am
Mhm.
I, and all those questions. So those three are pretty common. We use them all at some point, but the comparison one is especially like you deal with marketing and such, right?
Yeah.
And it's like right
Social
there.
media has made it
Yes.
so bad. Like
Yes.
I always tell people, and not just in marketing, but in life in general, social media is the highlight reel. It's not the whole movie,
It's
right? They're
not the
just
whole
showing
story.
you the best parts of their life.
Yeah, it's the trailer.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Do not scroll first thing in the morning. You go straight into an ego trick. You start with an ego
Exactly.
trick. And it's called comparison. I mean, I can get on social media and I can still feel it at times, like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm not doing enough. Like you look at everybody else and they're all busy on social media doing stuff, whatever the stuff is, or just the fact that they woke up and posted something is doing more than I'm doing in that moment.
That's
And I'm
so
like,
true.
I'm already comparing and putting myself into an ego state instead of a higher self connected. What is my next step? What is right for me to move me towards my bigger purpose and my goals? Goals are great. I'm a planner. But I'm less than. I used to be really high level planning. That's that perfection and control. And now what I say is a plan is fine, right? It's okay to plan as long as you're not attached to it.
Right.
Attached to the outcome, attached to the requirements, like how it has to be before you do anything else, right? So it's kind of like show up with an agenda, an intention, an idea, a plan, a general guideline of your day or life or what have you. But if you are so attached to it, when something unexpected comes in, which could be a good opportunity, it could be something exciting and it can
Right.
throw you off your game, and then somehow you miss that opportunity. Or it could be something in family. I mean, we got children at home, we're homeschooling,
I
many of
know
us.
right now, especially, yeah,
Yeah,
COVID
yeah,
can come in and just throw
yeah, everything can blow up in 1 minute.
everything blows up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So the more we live detached from our attachments, which is one of the methods I've created, the 7 steps of the detachment method, is to identify what we're attached to. And it can be multiple things. It's just resistance. It can be expectation. It can be a plan. It can be a person, a place, a thing, an idea. And when we're attached, we're suffocating. We're suffocating ourselves. We're taking the air out of possibility and magic and all the miracles that can happen and the growth. And when you let go of that control and that requirement so much of, then amazing things can show up that feed our purpose, that feed our next step, that allow us to move forward. And so I have this visual that I created about how we live in a fishbowl identity. The ego makes a fishbowl identity. It's kind of like we all swim in our own fishbowl at any given moment. And we're always looking through the glass the glass to the next fishbowl, going, that's my goal, that's my desire, that's where I want to be, that's the money I want, that's the clients I want, whatever it is, the lifestyle. And in order to have that new identity, that new fishbowl identity, we have to be willing to uncover and discover what are the attachments that we have to the current one. Because if we're still tethered to the current identity, that's where the ego's comfortable. It's like, I'm good here. Why would I change? Why would I move anywhere? And yet everything we want is in our new identity that is uncomfortable, unpredictable, unknown, all of those things. And that's being a brave master. It's willing to be vulnerable with self and look inward, as well as uncover those uncomfortable things. And a lot of times there's a lot of emotional suppression and unconscious beliefs and things like that are going on, and or just a story we're telling ourselves that we're not really paying attention to, and that's in the middle between the current fishbowl identity and the next fishbowl identity. And if we want to become something more, have more, do more, etc., we have to uncover those ego tricks and those attachments in order to have it. So yeah, it's crazy.
That was a lot of information.
That was a lot.
So valuable, because the reality is that most people don't think about how detrimental those ego tricks that we're talking about could be, especially the comparison, right? I think every business owner out there, coach or not coach, just every business owner gets on and they see the ads from whatever guru it is. And they're like, obviously I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And the reality is that,
exactly.
So I loved that information. So tell me, about how our audience can get a hold of you. Like, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
So number one, you can always go to my website, bravemasters.com. And what I'd love to offer everyone is the access to not only the ego tricks, but the egoic archetype. And on the back end, there's just a free video that explains what your predominant archetype is. Awesome. It's kind of like which ego tricks do you go to predominantly? Because the more self-aware we are, the more we can manage ourselves, the more we can actually expand.
Exactly.
And so it's real simple, bravemasters.com/quiz. And you find out who you are, like more importantly, who your ego is. I try to separate that. It's like, we take so much of where our ego says we are on as as our truth. And I want to separate that in my conversation. It's kind of like what my ego is behaving like, what my ego is saying to me, because then it doesn't become so embedded in in our person. So yeah, the quiz is really fantastic. It's a great way to kind of get to know more about what I'm speaking of here. And you can download all the ego tricks and the detachment method. So
I love quizzes. So
I know, I love quizzes. I'm always identifying myself,
right? I know, there's so much fun. And they're a great way to learn about yourself and your business and whatever it is the quiz is about. I love quizzes. So I would encourage our audience to go take that quiz, and I will have all of that information in the show notes below. Thank you so much, Jenna, for joining us today. You gave so much information today that I'm going to give our audience a minute to digest it, and we will see you guys on the next show.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jennifer.